So you want to make hay? You've come to the right place. Today on American Outdoors, we're digging into the dirt, covering everything from choosing the best crop, knowing your soil, planting seeds, to the final harvest. Hay growing made simple, savvy, and fun. And we won't waste a second. Whether you're new to homesteading, dreaming of feeding livestock, or ready to profit selling bales, grab your coffee, toss on those gloves, and let's get started. At the top of our list is checking the soil. Whether or not hay has been grown on your property in the past, knowing your dirt is a key first step. This means soil sampling, whether by doing it yourself or through your local co-op or ag agency, or nursery that offers the service, or private soil testing lab. DIY soil testing kits can also be purchased from garden centers and online. It is important to know nutrient levels before spending any time or money and will confirm whether or not you need to amend the soil. And by amending the soil, we mean adding fertilizers to provide nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium based on the crop's needs. For example, the pH can be adjusted with lime for acidic soil or sulfur if alkaline. We've listed the optimal test levels for some of the more common nutrients such as phosphorus, potassium, calcium, magnesium, sulfur, and a few others. Don't worry, we're throwing some numbers at you early, but we'll keep this simple enough to understand. The optimal pH for hay crops is between 6 and 7, and closer to 7 for alfalfa. Nitrogen plays an important role in promoting vigorous growth, dark green foliage, and higher protein levels in grass hay. For an established field, 50 pounds of nitrogen, give or take, per acre is usually spread at planting. Legumes, such as the earlier mentioned alfalfa, require minimal external treatment as they fix their own nitrogen from the atmosphere. Hay harvesting removes significant nutrients from the soil, so replenish accordingly and conduct soil tests every 2 to 3 years to monitor nutrient levels and adjust fertilization plans. This will help prevent starving your ground and diminishing yields. When it comes to selecting your hay crop, determine its intended use, as each crop has its advantages and requirements. For example, livestock animals have different hay preferences and nutritional needs. Horses prefer fine-stemmed, leafy hay and do best with grass hay like timothy or orchard grass, while alfalfa can be too rich for idle horses. While dairy cows love that same alfalfa for its high protein and excellent milk production, versus beef cattle, which do well on ordinary grass hay with lower protein content. They are also able to digest coarse, stemmy hay better than horses. Farm animals, such as sheep and goats, prefer leafier, finer hay and can thrive on alfalfa and clover. While they are more tolerant of lower quality, weedy hay than horses, goats in particular do like some variety in their feed. When it comes to rabbits, they need high-fiber grass hay like timothy. The right hay choice for you will depend on when you intend to plant, your climate, who you are planting for, your storage facilities, and your costs. So, to recap, grass hays are timothy, fine-stemmed, highly palatable, and good for horses. Orchard grass, which is leafy, high-yielding, and good for all livestock. Bermuda grass, which is drought-resistant and grown mainly in the south. Brome, a winter-hardy strain also good for cattle and horses. And ryegrass, which is high in nutrients and good for dairy cattle. Fescue is also a high-yielding, drought-resistant hay. However, traditional fescue contains a naturally occurring fungus that can cause health problems in animals. For the legume hays, there is alfalfa with its high protein content, a great choice for dairy cattle. Clover, either red or white, is also a strong protein source and helps maintain nitrogen levels in the soil. Bird's foot trefoil can be used when bloat in livestock is an issue. And lespedeza is a hay that grows well in poor soil and contains naturally deworming properties. Now, of course, your planting seasons will vary depending on your location, but normally the best hays for a spring crop are alfalfa, once the soil temperatures reach 40 degrees Fahrenheit, brome in northern regions, orchard grass, clover, and timothy. Bermuda grass can be planted in late spring once the soil has warmed. For late summer to early fall crops, fescue strongly prefers fall planting. Timothy often does better when planted later in the year in warmer regions, and rye is good cool weather hay. I'll also mention that when wheat is grown for hay, it does well in autumn weather. Oh yes, and one of the benefits of planting a fall crop is that the cooler temperatures will inhibit the growth of many weeds. So, after you have done your soil testing, The remaining ground preparation sequence should include the primary tilling or heavy disking to break up the soil, followed by a secondary plowing a day or two later to create a firm seedbed. After that, you can add recommended fertilizers based on soil test results. You'll know your field is ready when the tilled seedbed is firm enough that walking leaves only light footprints and is free of large clumps. A finely textured top layer of dirt ensures good seed contact and will be smooth enough for easy mowing later, as well as holding moisture near the surface. Some common mistakes to avoid are planting in soil that is too loose, poor weed eradication before planting, prepping the soil too soon, and trying to plant in wet fields. Two popular seeding methods are what is known as drill seeding, a precise technique that plants seeds at the correct depth, and broadcast seeding, scattering seeds evenly across the field rather than in rows, usually followed by rolling to improve seed-to-soil contact. You should always follow the seeding rate recommendations for the specific crop to ensure optimal density. With the soil prep completed, once your seeds have germinated, hay is relatively low maintenance. It just requires monitoring a few key factors for success. On the plus side, most types of hay are hardy and drought resistant, and you can often get multiple cuttings in a single season. The perennials will come back yearly and are fairly resistant to many common plant diseases. Some of the more challenging aspects are that the initial investment in equipment, such as a tractor, baler, rake, spreaders, discs, and tillers, can be expensive, and weed control can be demanding, especially if you cut corners on your field prep. A dry growing season can stunt growth, while too much rain can cause plants to rot. Also, the timing of your cutting can greatly impact the nutritional value, and as such, weather can make or break a harvest. Harvesting the hay. The timing of the harvest is crucial, as cutting it too early or too late can result in nutrient losses or reduced palatability. It is generally recommended to harvest hay when plants have reached the early bloom stage, as this is when the nutrient content is at its peak. Also, hay should be dried in the field until it reaches the desired moisture level, usually around 15 to 20%, before baling and storing it. Now, at this point, if you are new to growing hay, you're probably asking, which is better, round bales or square bales? Well, round bales are typically used for larger farms and commercial operations. A 5-foot by 6-foot round bale is heavy. It can weigh close to 1,700 pounds. Their shape and density make them resistant to moisture, and they usually take less time to dry. This also means you'll be able to preserve most of the underlying hay if exposed to excessive moisture, as mostly just the surface will be prone to spoilage. In fact, round bales, when properly positioned, can be left out in the fields without much worry. They're more practical for feeding large herds than square bales, and are generally more cost-effective per ton. However, that heavy weight means you'll need a tractor capable of lifting and moving round bales, as well as a truck and trailer that can safely transport them. When it comes to square bales, they are simpler to handle and stack inside barns, and a couple of dozen bales can be easily loaded into an 8-foot truck bed. They are more densely packed than a round bale, and weighing between 40 and 60 pounds, they can be moved and stacked quickly. Square bales are also better suited for smaller homesteads and farms, and for feeding animals measured portions. However, if left outside, they are more susceptible to weather damage since they don't shed water as well as round bales. The flat surface, rather than curved, collects water instead of letting it run off. Wet hay is susceptible to mold, which is especially hazardous to horses. Note too that square bales need adequate space for storage, and while they are lighter and easier to maneuver than round bales, they still require significant manual handling for loading, stacking, and feeding. So the thumbnail version is, cut your hay and leave it to dry in the field until it reaches the desired moisture level of 15 to 20%. Use a haybine or mower to cut the crop evenly. Lay the hay in windrows, and after a few days, if you prefer, you can turn or ted the hay to promote even drying and prevent spoilage. Use a baler to compact the hay into bales and store square bales in a well-ventilated barn. Depending on the type of crop and your growing season, you should be able to harvest 2 to 4 cuts of hay in a year. Check out our links in the description and at the end of this video for more tips and info on tractors and equipment. Don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons for future episodes. Oh, and you can also connect with us on X, Facebook, and Pinterest. From all of us here at American Outdoors, thanks for watching, folks. We'll see you again soon.